Hello, and welcome to our latest edition of Rockstar Launcher, where we talk to rock stars and generally in the business area. My name is Suzy Fulton. I'm a co-founder of a women-owned law firm, Fulton Jeang. We're full service and virtual. We have amazing attorneys working with us. And this morning, I want to introduce you to one of our amazing attorneys, Valerie Llaneros. And she's going to introduce you to our guest. I think y'all are really going to have fun with this one. He's got some great stories, and I think this will be a fun one. So, Valerie, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Suzy. Yes, so I'm Valerie Llaneros. I'm here with one of my rockstar clients, Eric Love. I met Eric a few years ago when we were both working on some charity work together. And the first time I met him, I realized he just had a heart of gold. Was really into giving back to the community. And we became friends. I met him through my husband, who kind of prefaced our meeting with, he has this dog named Big Juicy, who he loves and adores. It's his entire life. He has a tattoo of him. He's got all of this swag that has Big Juicy on it, even a billboard.
Yes, couple, yes.
Right. And so when I met Eric, he started talking about his dog and Big Juicy, and we worked on some charity work together. He had this big bus that he used to give out presents for those in need during Christmas. And when my husband and I were talking about Christmas gifts that year, I said, I think it would be great to try and register Eric's trademark. So we gave him a call and said, this is what we want to do. And he was just over the moon about it. And the whole process was absolutely amazing. It was some of the funniest stuff that's ever happened to me through my 13 years of practicing in the trademark world. And it just kind of fell into the whole story of Eric and him giving back. And we just registered his trademark 2 weeks ago, I think exactly, for Fort Worth famous Big Juicy.
Yes.
And yeah.
So Eric, tell us about some of this, the trademark, especially your dog. I'd love to hear more stories about your dog and how the dog, became this kind of label.
So I like people with passion. If people are not a very passionate person, it's kind of hard for me to be in that world. And you and I automatically took personality-wise. And what was important to me is, man, I love dogs. I love my dog especially. Mm-hmm. But having a character doing goodwill, what I have found is people like that. I'm not doing it. And I always say, man, thanks for doing that, Mr. Love. I don't have any money, but that dog is pretty well set. He's in a good spot. And it's so stupid, it's funny. So in my business days, I would take people to eat lunch, and on my debit card, it just says Big Juicy. And then I have one that says Fort Worth famous Big Juicy. I know the person that owns the bank. Okay. They own the bank. They're not a manager. I said, I need this on my personal debit cards. Oh, it's no problem, because they're my friend, right? You get a lot of grace and stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. And my shtick was I'd always pick it up and pick up the tab, and they would say, man, you didn't have to do that. I said, I didn't. But have you ever had a dog buy your lunch? Mm-hmm. And they're like, no. And I would have clients keep those receipts forever. Yep. And I will just say this, the greatest gift I have ever received, I've said this, I want something that'll always outlive me, always outlive Big Juicy. Valerie gave me that gift, and, she would update me along the way. Oh, we have the Celebrity Examiner. And I'm over here getting excited. I'm like, I'm ready to go full out. We got the Celebrity Examiner. And she was able to get it all, her and her team got it all passed. And what's funny about that, I don't know anybody that has their dog trademark. I make no money. I don't sell nothing, but man, I think I have the best merch and swag bag.
I agree.
I've got it on all 7 continents. I've got celebrities. I've got friends from homeless people to the end of the moon. Okay. You can go down East Lancaster and Fort Worth. I love the homeless population. Try to do a lot of my hats over there. I enjoy giving them out. That's my friend. I've got some pretty big celebrities. I've got NFL people. Warren Buffett's got one of my boxes. He used to be one of my clients. So for me, it's fun. It's almost like having an alter ego.
Right.
But always, and for that, I even thought about changing my legal name
To the Big Juicy.
just to Big Juicy. And my wife said, absolutely. I am not being Miss Juicy. It just does not sound right. I have enjoyed it so much. And he passed last year, okay? Oh, I cried for a whole year like I was in the rain, okay? But in that, you always have to go on. You always have to. So, man, I've tried to double down on all the charity stuff I've done. That a couple of weeks ago in Arlington. Here's what's funny. So Valerie calls me and says, hey, we're celebrating White Cane. There's been some issues that for some reason this is not being, recognized. Well, I got a lot of friends, and I pride myself on that. My wife has said it best. It's great to know a lot of people, but it's greater when a lot of people know you.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's
That's
true.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? Let me text the mayor real quick of Arlington. He's my good buddy. Let me text old Jim. And man, I texted him, and boy, he sent me a very eloquent, man, I've already have something booked.
Yep.
I'm not going to be available.
Yep.
So let me tell you what I did. I said, I understand. I want to be empathetic. I understand. You're a pretty important person.
Yep.
Just remember all them times that you called me last minute and I showed up for the children. And guess who beat me to the event that day?
Yep. There's
I told her, I said, I'm pulling in. She goes, oh, Jim's already here.
Yes.
I said,
I blew the surprise. He didn't know that Jim was going. He thought, and I had told my daughter, who just loves Eric, I said the mayor might be coming, and then found out he wasn't. I was like, man, I shouldn't have brought it up. So we're scoping everything out the day of, and I walk back up to a group of people that are there, introducing myself to everyone. They're all from the city. And I forgot to introduce myself to one person. He said, well, you forgot somebody. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm Valerie. And he said, I'm Jim. I was like, oh, that's the name of the mayor. And one of the city people was like, he's the mayor. He is. And the kids were just over the moon. It was wonderful.
and what's cool about that is it's not only good for the children, it's good for us adults.
Right.
We take so much for granted. Those kids have a better day than any of us, and we have all of our abilities, right? I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'm always humbled when I'm in a room or at an event and I'm around kids that they're just kids. And when you treat a kid just like they're a kid, guess what? They're having a great time.
Yes.
That's awesome. So how did you come up did you adopt Big Juicy from puppydom, or how did this story start?
I used to be the vice president of an international security company. I had a pretty great life, okay? I was a cop 17 years, a sheriff. Then I went into private business, woman-owned business, and she's the best entrepreneur on the planet, in my opinion. And we were in business for 15 years,
Okay.
and we sold. And as basically the first employee of the company, she was wonderful to me, okay? Remember, these people, they don't have to be wonderful to you, okay? I mean, you're selling a company, you're selling all the assets. This person helped make my life what it is today. So it's very important. I always pay homage. So a guy that cleaned my office every night, he wanted to meet Jay-Z and Beyonce. He's like, man, all these celebrity pictures in my office, that was his big deal. I said, you got a black suit? He said, yeah. Throw a black suit on, meet over here. You're going to get to meet him. You're going to get your picture. He's like, are you serious? It was important to him.
Right.
And I have found in life, if you can do something, if somebody really wants to do it, do anything. It could be anything. But if you're able to be the facilitator and help them accomplish whatever that is, you are forever in good graces.
Yes. You're there.
And conversation.
Yes.
So this guy cleaned my office, and he saw a picture of my wife's first Shih Tzu, and he said, hey, is that your dog? I said, that's my wife's. I don't have one. Oh, if you could, what would you want? I said, man, I don't know anything about them, but I like the English Bulldog. They don't do too much. And I like a dog that's going to be like me. I want to do too much, and then not do too much. And that's that dog. And he said, well, I'm the top breeder in DFW. Oh, wow. I said, wait a minute. You're cleaning my office. He said, have you ever been divorced? I said, yeah. Yeah, I have. So this guy said, I'm going to breed you one. Okay. So you don't think about it.
Right.
A couple weeks goes by. He calls me. He says, hey, I got a dog that I bred for this company owner, son, but he can't afford the, it's like a $2,500 deposit downtown Dallas in the high rise because they do the fecal matter,
right?
The DNA check. Yep. And he couldn't afford it. He said, can I just come bring him by? Just take a look and see if you even like the breed. Man, let me tell you, the dog walked in. I had a pretty big office. The dog walked in, and it was like the song, "And I Will Always Love You." It sounds so, I know it sounds stupid, and I don't feel stupid telling you, but it did. Like this, I just connected. I said, I'll write you a check for him right now. And he said, you want him? I said, dude, this is the chosen. It was the weirdest thing. I'd never experienced something
There's a big light in the background.
No. So my wife had always, she'd say, oh, you need to get a dog. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm doing exactly what my wife told me to do. I said, I'll take him. He said, you want him? I said, he ain't leaving this office. He's mine. I'll write you a check. He said, I'm going to gift him to you. I said, oh, boy.
Oh, wow.
So you know what I did? I was the boss. I left. I love him up. Man, we went and did some fun shit, okay? And then I get home, and I told my wife, I said, boy, I did exactly what you told me to. So I went and got a dog. And she said, wait a minute. What do you know about the dog? I said, I don't know nothing other than I love him, and I got a fat wallet. And that dog, that's my guy. And she was like, oh, my Lord. So I bring him in. Of course, if you've never been around one, it's like being around one of your old obese uncles. He just makes a little bit of noise, and you don't want to do too much. And I could see it growing on it. The first couple of days was tough. I was going to say it. That first couple of days went by. She saw how much I loved it.
Right.
And she started loving it. Mm-hmm. And then I originally named him Buddy, like Buddy Love.
Right.
And I said, you know what? Man, I love that Buddy Love. This is the guy. We go down about 2 weeks, and Lisa hugs him. And she said, he is so juicy. I says,
oh,
it's over.
Gosh, I know that story.
And like a marketing mind for me, I'm like, it's over.
Right.
It's like, what are you talking about? I said, listen, that's Big Juicy. From this moment forward, that is Big Juicy. And boy, he's got a bright future. Mm-hmm. And she said, you are so crazy. And then you fast forward to him living his whole life.
Yeah.
Been gone for over a year now. I cried like I was in the rain for a whole year. Yeah. She was already working on this trademark. But man, when I tell you, if somebody does something for your children, for your family, boy, for my dog, oh, there ain't nothing you can do to ever fall out of my graces. And for her to have done that, I have had more fun. I've had more fun telling that story. Mm-hmm. Because she gifted me her talent, her intellectual property. And look, I know how much attorneys cost. Just when you start an attorney, then you go down these specialized groups where, oh crap, trademark attorney, that's going to be so. She gifted it to me. And I have friends that have they've told me how much they've spent. And I said, holy shit. It's incredible for me, for my life legacy. I don't care if anybody remembers my name. Just remember Big Juicy.
The Big Juicy. And now you have it in registered trademark. Right. It can go on and on as long as you're using it. Yes. It's wonderful. Yep. Valerie, so we were talking about the trademark process, and there were some interesting, as a fellow trademark attorney, from what I heard, there were a couple interesting things that happened in your process. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So yes, this is definitely probably my favorite story about registration. And it doesn't surprise me that we hit some of these kind of, I wouldn't say hiccups. It's
with Eric, you didn't expect just like a smooth,
no,
process.
Exactly. Right? I knew that there was going to be something that I'll be able to tell story-wise afterwards, but I had no idea what was going to happen. So, typically with the registration process, you file the application and you'll get an office action back from the trademark examiner, and then you respond back to them, and then you kind of go back and forth, and then you get a registration. And it's the examiner's job to take a look at the application and say, this is what's wrong with it. You can't get this registration for this reason. So I get the first office action back. And it was a busy day for me. I had a hearing that afternoon, and I just wanted to take a look at it really quick at the response, and it was 40 pages long. And I was like,
you say 40 pages?
40 pages.
That's good.
And yeah, I was like, what in the world? What could he possibly have to say for 40 pages? So I go through and I'm looking at them, and my mind's a little split, and then something's not clicking. I'm looking at the evidence that he sent back saying that you can't register this trademark because of this. And then I realized that it's Eric's own marketing. That the examiner has said, you can't get this registration because there's this other marketing out there. And so I go back and I'm looking up the examiner, and he has actually worked on some high profile registrations before. One being for one of the Jersey Shore characters who called himself The Situation, and he wanted to register a situation. This examiner said, no, you can't do that. So I said, okay, well, he's got
the background
yes,
here.
I'm like, oh no, we've got an uphill battle. But so his argument was that Big Juicy was a commonly known term for Fort Worth, because the mark was Fort Worth famous Big Juicy. I've lived in Texas since '97 and Fort Worth most of that time, and I have never heard Fort Worth called Big Juicy. And so sure enough, I'm looking at the evidence, and I had to stop everything. And I called, I actually texted my husband. I said, are you with Eric? He said, yes. I said, put him on speakerphone. So I called, I said, you are not going to guess what happened. But so this, this examiner is citing your own marketing against your application.
It's only famous because of Eric and what he's done with the name.
Exactly.
That's too funny.
Yes.
Yeah. That is highly unusual.
It is.
So now tell us something. I mean, you've been on multiple podcasts, and you've done this one or two times and have really good stories. What is something that people don't know about? I mean, you have this larger than life personality and, the love of your dog. And what is something that you'd like the audience or people to know about you that doesn't really necessarily come out in these types of conversations?
Okay, so that's a great question. So I like making my day good every day. It's going to be good, okay? And if you find an opportunity throughout the day to make somebody else's good, I put this on my checks for a long time. It's just money, I'll make more. And I like that mindset, because even when I didn't have any money, I don't have much now, my dog does. I don't have very much. I need some money now. What's funny about it is something as little as buying somebody something to eat. I don't like anybody being hungry. If you're with me, you're going to be eating, and you're going to be eating great. That's like my love language. I never understood going to some granny's house. They always wanted to feed you until I became a granny myself. Once I got older, I'm like, oh, I get why they do that. But I was in law enforcement 17 years, private investigator 15. I have a very unique hobby, and that hobby is something that helps me understand people. I communicate with 11 different serial killers that are serving life sentences or waiting execution. And that's odd, okay? Maybe to some people, but not to me. I enjoy understanding why, or trying to understand why someone did something, and understanding how maybe you can identify those same characteristics in someone that might stick out to you in a professional level. Outside of that, I will tell you this. If you have a passion, my wife, when I told her, well, I didn't tell her. That's the thing. I went and had this billboard put up. Now, I'd spent about 2 weeks doing the right, the biggest firm did the marketing for me and put it up. And they said, what do you sell? I sell nothing, but I want to welcome everybody to Fort Worth. And that was one of the things that was cited against me. Mm-hmm. And I'm passionate about the dog and about Fort Worth and a lot of good things. And I would just tell you that if it's something that you really like doing, I had no reason to put up a billboard in 2018. I was bored sitting in my office and said, I don't know anybody that's ever done this for their dog. I'm doing it. And at the time, my wife had a pretty big position at a hospital in Dallas. And she called me and she said, where are you at? I said, I'm at the office. She said, you're on the news. I said, holy crap, already? She said, you didn't think to tell me? I said, well, I didn't know. At that time, I was new to being back in, being married. I didn't know I need to discuss all this. And it's a great story now. We've laughed about it. There was no reason to put it up at the time other than I thought it was fun and cool. But I see how it benefited me, 7-8 years later in that process.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned your wife a few times, and I just learned kind of right before the podcast that y'all were a situation where it was the opposites attract. So
she's real smart. I am not. She saw something in me. I don't know, but I'll tell you, I always say this. I'm the least deserving person of the relationship I'm in now. I've been married a couple times. Okay. I've been married a couple times. I found a woman that loves me for me, and I don't have to go do all this stuff. She literally loves me for me. And I'll tell you what, when you start getting the right things lined up in your life, the wife, and then remember, I took her advice and got the dog. And boy, at first, that was a little rough. A couple of days. Well, you don't know anything about his health? I don't know, but my wallet will fix it. That's how I looked at it. Okay. When you have the right person in your life, we are absolutely polar opposite. She is a person with a PhD and beautiful woman, very healthy. Not me. I'm Kentucky Fried Chicken, Hall's Chicken. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But we're absolute opposites. But I will say this, even in my friendship group, I want to tell you about this guy. There's a guy in Dallas, and he has a song that came out, and I heard it. And it's called I Hope the Worst. And when you hear it, you can't help but laugh. I hope the worst. Juice Cuz. He's South Lancaster. He's a rapper. Now, I don't really listen to rap music, but I said, man, I like this guy. So I send those boxes that I gave y'all. I send those all over the globe. I'm messaging. I said, I want to send you something. Oh, man, for sure. So I sent it over to him. He and I become friends. And let me tell you something. I'm not a rapper, but guess what? I had to start getting a little bit legit because he's doing a song for me. And it's all because of just I was just a nice person. And he and I connected personality-wise. And it's going to be the same beat. I hope the worst, but it's going to be positive. I said, I don't like the negative, like for me.
Right.
He said, I'm going to make you a theme song. And I said, oh man. So this guy, he is, he's too icy is what his, he kind of branded as too icy. He is a really talented guy. And I like having friends that I don't want to say, people say, well, how did y'all become friends? But I do. Mm-hmm. How did y'all become friends? How do you know that person? And to me, it's always better. And I think it even comes back to branding. Mm-hmm. It's great to know a lot of people, but it's greater when a lot of people know you. And it can be because of your brand. Amen. Probably.
Absolutely.
So when, when you talk about the branding and everything, but it's really not even branding. It's almost just your personality and your persona. And you mentioned about starting each day, and living your best day every day, right? Was there something that happened in your life that led you to think that way, or did it just happen over time?
Well, that's a good question. I was raised poor, and I can attest that having no money is not fun, okay? And being hungry is not fun. So as I grew up, I always said, man, as soon as I graduate high school, I'm getting an apartment and I'm gonna work forward. And, my parents were wonderful parents, but they only knew what they knew, right? We only know what we know in life. And I said, I'm gonna make sure that my kids think that I can solve it, or I can at least point in the direction to solve something. So I think a positive outlook, even in the worst situation. But I heard somebody say, oh, it can't get any worse. I said, shit, don't say that. Because, boy, it'll get 1,000 times worse. And then, so I just think that your attitude is everything. I'd rather have somebody with a great attitude and a 0 skill set than a 1,000% skill set and a negative 1,000 attitude myself.
Right. And how is there any one person in your life that you feel like was the big influence or whatever that kind of...
Yes. So Stephanie Point, she founded Point-to-Point Global Security, woman-owned business. And, I was pretty good. I would say I was mediocre at best, really. When I became friends with her and started doing business on her behalf and then becoming the first employee at this company, teaching me passion. That's where, that person really taught me passion, empathy. It's not about how much money I can make. It's about how many jobs can I create and create a lifelong legacy for myself. That's why I don't care about ever making money. I don't care. For me, it's about making the impression, making a positive impact. If somebody has something going on and they say, man, will you bring one of your crazy cars over here? As long as it ain't raining, I'm there. It's no problem. I enjoy that. I enjoy being a useful person. I'm 58. I'm having a better time than anybody else I know at 58 in my friend group. And don't retire. You're going to die. Don't retire. Keep doing stuff and find something that you can service your community with. That's it. That's my opinion.
So we're running low on time, but I want you to send us out with, some of your big juicyisms or anything that we can take home that you think, we've got a lot of good stuff. And I think I personally have learned a lot just from this short conversation, but what can you send us out with?
I'm going to send you out with this. Sometimes you don't know why you're doing it, but you do it, like the billboard. You never know where something can go or what something can turn into. This is an unlikely introduction of friends. Network your whole life. Be kind. Be nice. Help somebody out. You'll never know where your opportunities come from. And Fort Worth famous Big Juicy, it's going to live forever. Thanks to Valerie and her team. But I'll say this. I want to leave, I don't care if my name is on anything. I don't like being called, I never have liked my name anyway. But I like having that nickname and kind of assuming that identity. And my dog my dog and my wife made me the best people. But my dog really did a number on me. And I hope that you have the same opportunity to have that because it's so important. And if you need to get trademarked, I'm telling you, that's the greatest gift. It's the greatest gift I've ever received. And I'm telling you, I've received a lot of junk and cool stuff. But I'm telling you, I say it all the time. It's the greatest gift I've ever received. And really being trademarked, it sets it in stone. And I'm grateful for you. I absolutely love that.
Well, I'm grateful for you as well.
Well, there we have it. Another half hour has passed for our Rockstar launcher. Certainly Rockstar with Eric Love and Big Juicy. Thank you.
Thank you.